earlier, you worked with the immediate feedback version of the system, which lets users know when they made a mistake immediately and always has hints available to provide assistance while working through cases. You will now be working with the faded feedback version of the system. Primarily, the tutor is used in the same way. It has the same virtual microscope, it has the same buttons, etc. However, in the faded feedback version, feedback will gradually fade over time, making users work on their own and not depend on hints and errors to guide them through cases. You will switch back and forth between feedback mode, where feedback is provided immediately, and no feedback mode, where you must work on your own and no feedback is provided. You will be alerted by the tutor when you are switching from one mode to the other. There is also an intervening mode called coloring book mode, where you will be asked to reassess things you did while working on your own. So I'm going to show you each of these modes. Now, right now, when you start up a case, you're in the regular feedback mode. As you see, it says down here, status immediate feedback. The hint button is available to me. So I'm going to go ahead and just do a couple of things because I want to show you how things work once you're switching into other modes that you have not seen before. So now, as you see, the hint button is grayed out, and if I do something else, you will see that the tutor says you are on your own. The status over here, it says delayed feedback, and also anything that you do at this point will appear in gray. That's the way the tutor shows that it hasn't processed that. It's not providing feedback about that. Anything that's in the normal colors like yellow, green, blue, whatever, that means you got feedback about that. Things that come up gray, like this node over here, that means the tutor has not processed that. So you don't know if it's right or wrong at this point. So I'm going to go ahead and do a couple more things so that you can see the coloring book mode. And as now it says you're entering the coloring mode. So I'll click OK. And at this point, now you see it's kind of switched to a different mode. Instead of the normal buttons up here, I have these colors up here, where basically you're just supposed to reassess things that you did earlier. You should color things green that you think you're right about, color things yellow that you're unsure about, and color things red that you think you're actually wrong about. Now, to color things, you just left click the button to select it, and you just color everything different colors, and the color will stay selected until you click on a different color. So you can just keep coloring things as you wish. When you're done coloring, press the submit button, and now you'll get a couple of dialog questions over here. These questions appear randomly. Some of them are multiple choice and some are open-ended. Now, this is an open-ended one, so you would just want to type something. Just a sentence or two is fine. And now you see I got a multiple choice one, so you would just select the appropriate answer and press send. And at that point, now it's telling me thank you for answering the questions. You can recheck your coloring or press submit to continue. So I'll hit submit. And at this point, I get a self-check summary. This basically tells you how you did with your coloring. The U column, it indicates what you thought. So the green check marks indicate that I colored it green. I thought I was right. And the X is the red X is the thing that I thought, I was actually wrong about that. The tutor column indicates what the tutor thinks. So the green checks would indicate that you were right about that. And X indicates that you were wrong. And the self-check column indicates how you did in your coloring. So basically, if the U column and the tutor column match up, you'll get a check in the self-check column. So that means you colored it correctly. Now in this row, as you see, I thought I was wrong. The tutor says I was actually right about that, so that means my coloring was wrong. That's why there's an X there. And as you see over here with this one thing with body size small, there's an X in the tutor column with a box around it. And if you mouse over that, you can see what was wrong about it. So you get your little error message that way. But when you're done looking at this, you can click the OK button. And one other thing, it says the hypotheses, just so you're aware, to remind you, hypotheses are considered correct if consistent with at least one feature. So you only have to have one feature on your screen for any hypotheses you have to be considered correct by the tutor. But I'll press OK to move on, and now it says you're coming back to the tutoring mode. See, OK, and now it switches back to the normal tutoring mode. I have the standard buttons back. The hint button is available to me. It says immediate feedback there, and body size, the small, is in red like it normally would be to indicate that it's wrong. So I'm going to just go ahead and do a few more things because I want you to see what happens when you get a little further along in the case. Alright, so now again, I'm going to be switching back. As you see now, the hint button is grayed out again. So I'm just going to move along, and now you see it says you're on your own, delayed feedback. Now at this point, when you're in no feedback mode or delayed feedback, you do not need to complete the case to move on. You can submit a case once you're ready. So now at this point, as you can see, I have not identified all of the features that you're really supposed to, like you're supposed to say digits and things like that. But I can say I'm done at this case, and it'll ask, are you sure you want to submit this case now? So I'll select yes, and the tutor will ask you to draw any links that if you haven't already done that, it'll ask you to draw links. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And when you're done with that, press the done button, and now you'll go back into coloring mode. So again, you'll just want to color things appropriately. So I'll just go ahead and get everything colored. When you're done coloring, press the submit button. And again, you'll get a few questions from the tutor, but you'll get a few additional questions at the end of the case, and that's what I want to show you now. So now, after the first couple questions, as you see, now I get the tutor changed. Instead of having the slide up here, I now have this tree. Now this tree shows the entire area of pathology that you are learning with the tutor. Now in DinoTutor, the tree is not very big, but in the regular SlideTutor, it's quite large, which is why we have these zoom in and out buttons up here. So that's how you can make the tree larger and smaller if you wish. And then to navigate the tree, to open and close different parts, you just click on these triangles, or to close things, you click on the preceding thing, and that will close things up. Now, getting down to these dialogue questions. This question is saying, using the Knowledge Explorer, that's this tree thing up here. Using the Knowledge Explorer, can you tell if you were right or wrong about iguanodon? If you were wrong, what error did you make? So this question is asking you to look at what you've seen. Now in this what you've seen versus what you've learned. What you've seen indicates obviously things that you've seen in the case, in the tutor. The current case is going to be this bright green color that you see here. And anything that you had seen earlier with the tutor, those paths will be colored a light green color. But the current case is this bright green color that you see here. So you just answer the question appropriately. Now the next question is saying, what things have you seen but haven't learned? So that's asking you to compare what's in this view of the tree with what's in this what have you learned tab. Now, what have you learned? Anything that's shaded in indicates it's something that the tutor feels you've learned at least to some extent. And the darker shade that it is, the more the tutor feels that you've mastered it. And you can see your mastery level by mousing over these shaded notes. As you see, you get a little mastery box that pops up. But anyway, so you would just answer this appropriately. Again, don't write a lot. Just look at it things enough to get a sense of, comparing what you've seen with what you know, what you've learned. And now this last question is telling you to click on the self-check summary. And as you see, you have another tab up here. And it says for things you were wrong or unsure about, how much knowledge does the tutor think you know about it? So basically, you want to look at the self-check column and see what was I wrong about, and then go back and look at the Knowledge Explorer and see what the tutor thinks. So you just answer it appropriately. And now at this point, you're done with all the questions, but you do get a little more additional information from the tutor. At the end of the case, you get this Behavior Summary tab, which it'll give you a behavior summary. Now, right now it says it's too early to determine your style of learning, but basically it'll indicate whether the tutor feels you're a hint learner, or you learn from errors, or maybe you're more balanced. That's what that will say there. And then here, if you're making any standard, common types of mistakes that are often made diagnostically, they will be listed here. Now, at this point, I haven't made any of those, but you can, and if you haven't made any, there won't be anything listed here, but you can read about them by mousing over things over here. So you can see what these different errors are and how they are made. Now, also at the end of the case, you have this tutor mode button, which if I click it, I go back and I get my slide back. Now, that we provide so that if, say, as you see, I go back to what have I seen, and I can see what was I supposed to do in this case. And for example, I did not identify digits. So I could then go back and look on the slide and look for digits. So that's our way of letting you look back at the slide for anything that you may have missed if you wish. And whenever you're done looking through everything, you would just click the next problem button to move on. So that's how you use the faded feedback version of the system.